There was a letter written by Chris Watts that the Watts family is in possession of. The letter was offered up to Chris's defense team, but was turned down because they thought it showed premeditation. Screenshots of this letter were passed around and given to people by the Watts family. After seeing and hearing how others reacted to this letter, the Watts then tried to take the letter back. Kim Kaufman and Chris's family asked that the letter be deleted from the channel that released it. Their request of not wanting this letter to be seen caused people to become even more curious as to when and why this letter was written. If it was written for the purpose that the Watts family stated, why did Kim Kaufman demand that it be taken down? What is so damning about this letter? And what could be later proved if this letter was looked at more closely by an expert? The Watts claim that Chris wrote this letter on August 6, 2018, when he was visiting them in North Carolina. Chris said he didn't want to write it, but his family made him. If it was, in fact, written on that day, what could have happened to make his family want him to write it? Let's look at the first sentence. Chris writes, "If anyone gets this letter, I would never do anything to hurt myself or my children or my wife." So why would his family want him to write this statement saying he would never hurt them? The only logical explanation is that Chris had told his family something that caused them to worry about either Chris, his children, or his wife being hurt. What it also says is that they feared Chris would get blamed for it. This means Chris's family thought Shanann would hurt Chris or the children or herself. They were afraid that something would happen, people would be hurt, and Chris would be blamed. They were so afraid of this that they made Chris write this statement, even though Chris said he didn't want to. If he really believed and was really afraid that Shanann would hurt them, why would he be so reluctant to write it down? In the next sentence, he writes, "If anything happens to me, please investigate my wife." He said, "Please investigate my wife." If anything happened to those two little girls, he wanted his wife to be investigated. My opinion on this is I can understand Chris's family thinking that if Chris went home and really put his foot down about this divorce, that Shanann would maybe hurt him. But the fact that the children were also included in this letter makes me believe that Chris spent some time in North Carolina with his family talking about Shanann possibly hurting the children. Like he fed them enough information that made them believe that not only could Shanann hurt him, but she could also hurt the children. For me, it shows he had something planned. It shows premeditation. There's been a couple things speculated about this letter. One of the things is that the date may have been added later. If you look at the date, it's huge, right? Like it really stands out. When you compare the date to other numbers and dates written on NK's cards, the numbers are small, just like the letters. So it is a little strange for the date to be written really huge like that. If the date was added later, an expert in that field would be able to tell us that. They can tell if a different pen was used and if something was added later. Another speculation was that Chris could have wrote the letter in the car after he picked his dad up from the airport. That I don't know if there's any truth to that. There's really no way that anyone could prove that that was true unless someone just outright admitted that. That can't be proved. I don't know, though. I don't know a lot about handwriting analysis. I just think it would be interesting to see what would be revealed if an expert could examine the letter. In my opinion, I think just the existence of this letter shows premeditation. If KK and his family didn't want this letter to be seen or talked about, I think that means they somewhat agree. What do you guys think? Please let me know down in the comments.